So with my video plans slowly catching up, things might actually start going my way, as I can put some other things that I've been wanting to do for a while. But I probably won't be able to get into them just yet, because there are still like a few things that I still need to catch up on. And Nymph is one of them. The last character to do a how to build and showcase for you guys that I'm doing late, really late. At the last minute, I did manage to pull for her. To be honest, I didn't really want to, but it was all for Tatalia's bond. And I know there's gonna be some people out there who are wondering how to build her, and since I have her, may as well get a video out there for you guys. So, without further ado, let's go over and see what Nymph is all about. So with her talent, as long as she has a buff, her int increases. At the start of the battle, she applies Fantasy Bubble to allies within one block, and what that does is that the next instant of AoE damage taken is reduced by 15%, and it scales the higher you start her up. After taking action, there's a 50% chance to get a random buff that cannot be dispelled, and every 3 times that a skill is used. Afterwards, Fantasy Bubble is reapplied again after she takes action. Fantasy Bubble only lasts for 3 turns, cannot be dispelled, and is removed after taking AoE damage 1 time. Honestly, the positive for it isn't too bad. It's been a while since we had another character that has something to go against AoEs, but Nymph is going to be asking way too much for you. Like, I wish the max distance to get her bubble was at least 2 blocks, even if that meant starring her up. Nymph is a character that always wants to stay close to her allies, but a little bit of distance would be nice. And there's the fact that she wants to spam her skills in order to reapply again for bubble. Like, the turn duration isn't bad at least, but still, it's gonna be kinda annoying. It's still quite a bit to ask for. For the class mastery stone, for all of them, you want HP, int, and defense. And then with the arena stones, you want a defensive set. Even though she can be quite physically tanky, since she is an aquatic unit, physical attackers are a lot more common to see, especially when you have to go against assassins. The best soldiers for her to use are the aquatic ones. So the ocean priests, they can be pretty nice. What they can do is that they do magic damage, and when in water, attack, magic, defense are increased, and healing effect is increased by 30%. So they're going to be great for tanking magic attacks compared to the other ones. Plus the healing effect can be a little bit nice. The tidal elf are going to be great for tanking against physical attacks as long as you're in water though, so just be sure of that. Then glacial elemental, which are mainly great for attacking. But most likely, you're going to be using either of the first 2 that I mentioned so that she can tank things much more better. The forest priests are much more better at healing in general, but most likely you're not going to be using them on her. They're not going to get the extra defense from being in water, so they're going to be less tanky. And then you have the sorcerer. 99% of the time you're not going to be using them in PvP, but in regular content, I can see her using them over there. The best weapon for her to use is the Night Bloom only in PvP. Nymph is an offensive support, but is more of a support character than anything else, at least that's what it feels like. So having this just helps boost her role in that. Having the gift of eternal life is not bad to use on her as well. Just make sure that you do bring single target skills to make use of that extra healing. Then Red Moon for the extra stats, or even Blue Moon if not for the Red Moon, if you don't have the other ones. For the armor, you gotta have the last rites. Then it would be the Zord Legend, or even the Alliance robe. This does get more HP and more magic defense and defense, as long as you're not in mixed forces. And since Nymph wants to mainly be using aquatic soldiers, I can see this working. Mainly in PvP though, then your third option would be the Demon Lizard skin. For the helmet, the Snow Hat. Even the Demon Dragon helmet only uses in PvP, as this gives more defense for ranged attacks, so it's great against assassins. Your other options would be something like the Flower Helmet or King's Crown, if not for the first 2 that I mentioned. For the accessory, there's going to be quite a bit to choose from, so whatever works for you, you pick them. In PvP, Swordsmith Medal. I personally would recommend this to ignore fixed damage, and since she's a healer, something that I really hate is that whenever any type of healers get silenced. So that means they can't do their job protecting their team, all because they got silenced and can't do anything about it. The Heart of Redemption is not too bad, more healing and is immune to fixed damage, and heck, I would even encourage the Holy Ring to prevent being silenced. These 3 I would really recommend you guys to have on her. I'll go ahead and put some few alternatives in case you guys don't have any of them that I mentioned, so that you guys have more options to choose from. But once you guys do get the recommended equips, I would highly encourage you guys to upgrade them and put it on them if you're really serious on building them. For the enchant, you can go with Full Moon, since she is both an attacker and healer, so having that helps balance both roles. And I can see people say clock so that she spams her skills better. In regular content, it's not going to be really necessary because the few that you would want to bring on her have really short cooldown. But in PvP, she's most likely going to have only 1 attacking skill, so it's not really going to be worth it to just have your luck all depend on that one single skill, especially when she already excels at doing more than one thing. So yeah, I'd say go with Full Moon so that you have more of a balanced style. Alright, so hopefully all of that was useful information to help build your Nymph. So to anyone struggling with the first awakening stage, I'll help walk through it together with you guys. Alright, so here we are. We're gonna be up against Leobeck, McLean, and then Aaron. Interesting. So obviously, you're going to want to run the single target skill, so having her unique 2C because you can attack from 3 blocks with it, and you have Holy Word to heal yourself. Her unique 1C is going to be really good to heal yourself and plus put you in water. But if you feel like it's going to be unnecessary, then I would recommend her passive magic defense break to deal more damage to the enemy. You can try to use her AoE if you feel like that chip damage will help you guys. With the soldiers, you can run sorcerers for damage. The title elf so that you take less physical damage, but just remember that these guys are 1-block attackers. But the other 2 soldiers that can attack with her are the Glacial Elemental and the Ocean Priest. The Ocean Priest will help you take less magic damage, but as long as you're in water, so Leobeck does have like a support skill, so if you get lucky enough for him to do that, then you're all set up. In order to deal with Leobeck, he can do either one of 2 things. One of them is him attacking you, or him using his support skill to apply it on himself or on McLean. If you can get him to do that, great, you're not in risk of getting killed. But if not, hopefully you are able to tank it or at least one-shot him. But I'm gonna show you guys a slow method just in case. So if you're afraid of approaching him, this is something that I would do. Hang back and just use the heal skill to give herself a buff. And so that way with the soldiers, they get the bonus effect, and plus she does give herself extra healing, I think it was. It was something like as long as she takes damage, she heals afterwards. Yeah, right here. After the next instant of damage taken, she recovers a fixed amount of HP. And see, I was lucky enough for Leobeck to use his support skill. And another great thing about it is that he himself takes damage when he does that. So that's great. A greater potential to easily kill him off. So make sure you do your proper spacing. Don't stand 1 block away from the danger zone because Leobeck does have an AoE. So if you do have her unique 2C, you are able to attack from 2 blocks. So that's what I'm gonna do. Leobeck will be able to fight back because he does have that long range from his talent. And now McLean will approach and use his AoE. Honestly, his AoE is gonna be really hard to get away from, but it shouldn't be too bad. It doesn't really do too much damage. So after he does that, he's pretty much useless. But I'm gonna be safer and set her up. And then immediately on the next turn, kill McLean. Easy 1-shot. Aaron is a complete joke. Like, I feel like you would be able to easily tank his attack no matter what. Just as long as you put yourself in water, then you should always be good to go when dealing with McLean and Aaron. So right here, set her up again with the heal skill, put yourself in water for that extra defense bonus, and the next thing I'm doing is attack Aaron, and this should 1-shot him. 500 magic defense on Aaron. That is really low. It's honestly really simple. Like, I can understand Leobeck, but I would honestly recommend what I did. Let him use his support skill so that he takes damage to himself, and then hopefully you are able to finish him off. And the next 2 guys, just as long as you put yourself in water and then attack them, you should be fine. Alright, her 3C has a 5-turn cooldown, which is an active skill. When she uses it, she can give 1 additional talent and restores HP to nearby allies while applying a 15% damage increase for 2 turns. After using the skill, she heals her allies within 2 blocks after taking action for 2 turns while also getting Serenade. So what that does is that after enemies take action, they have a chance to be afflicted with Dormant, where they cannot take action on the next turn, which is then removed when taking damage, but only lasts for 2 turns that cannot be dispelled. It can only be triggered 4 times throughout its entire duration. The closer the enemy is towards Nymph, the higher the chance of being afflicted with it, up to a max of 100%. It cannot be applied again if the unit is already inflicted with Dormant. That is honestly pretty amazing. Like, yeah, the cooldown does really suck. That's the only bad part about it. Like, on paper, all of it sounds pretty good, yeah? But just wait until we get into the showcase, where I'm gonna be explaining a lot more in detail about it. But I'm gonna let you guys know right now that in PvP, this can scare like at the again characters. Because the whole point of them having the at the again skill is for them to get closer, right? But the more closer they are towards Nymph, if she does have this activated, the more likely they are to be inflicted with Dormant, leaving them very vulnerable. So yeah, not a bad defense tool that she has. Alright, so to those who are curious, this is what her 3C animation looks like. So, with the way how I usually do second awakening stages, I don't ever show them off unless they are really difficult, and in which in this case, it's not really that hard. It's very rare that I ever do something like that because you get 3 other characters that you are able to use, and pretty much they're all you need to carry you throughout the entire fight. Like some of the times, you're not even really dependent on your own character. So yeah, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get right onto her showcase. Alright, so if you guys want to know more about Nymph, with the talent, as long as she has a buff, her int increases, and at the start of the battle, she applies Fantasy Bubble to allies within 1 block of her, even to herself. So what this bubble does is that it reduces AoE damage taken by a certain amount, while also having a 50% chance to get 1 random buff, which cannot be dispelled. And for every 3 times that a skill was used, Fantasy Bubble effect is applied after taking action. It only lasts for 3 turns, cannot be dispelled, and is removed after taking AoE damage 1 time. By starting in a battle, she will be able to apply it right away. See, there we go, applied it on Liana, Christian, and Neo Lucretia. So there's a 50% chance to get the buff, so let's see if we can get lucky and have it applied. Nope, not that one. How about Liana? Liana, no go. What about Christian? So what about Christian here? I'm pretty sure she got the damage taken reduction right there. I'm pretty sure that's the buff that she got. So if I go back, would she get a buff? Oh, right there, see that? It did like a pop-up showing that, oh, this character got a buff. You can see right there. And if you want to reapply it again, she can get it back by pretty much spamming her skills. So as long as she does that, she gets a unique buff, or she gets a special talent buff. Pretty much this is what the bubble can do. As long as you take AoE damage, reduces damage taken. And it plays like a small sound when you do that too. Pretty nice. All you want to do is just keep on spamming her skills more and more. And once you reach your 2nd stack, be sure you stand nearby your allies because it will apply it right away as soon as she gets that 3rd stack. So with the unique 1C, it is pretty strong. It can heal for quite an amount, and you also get a buff to the ally and herself, where after taking damage, you recover a fixed amount of HP and is removed after triggering 1 time. That lasts for 2 turns, and then afterwards, she gets Tidal Surge. And the ally that she heals with it is an aquatic unit, they also get that same effect. So by applying it on Angelina here, she will get the same buffs as Nymph. So if I go ahead and check it, Nymph has that buff and also Tidal Surge, and Angelina will also have the same thing. Pretty good, really good actually. Only like a few aquatic characters that you would be using, but it's just mainly great on herself in general, so that she can survive physical attacks a lot more better. And you're gonna be mainly using it a bunch of time if you really need that, especially when it comes to PvP. And if you apply it on someone like Sherry, for example, pretty much the same thing. Nymph gets the same buffs, but Sherry though will only have 1 of them. So you don't always have to use it at an aquatic unit. You can very well use it on your tank or anyone else that takes way too much damage. And it kind of sucks that it is removed after taking damage like 1 time, but it is a lot of healing though. Nymph took AoE damage, so that thing got removed because after taking damage 1 time, that happens. But Sherry got hit and she had the buff, so also got removed for her as well. Not too bad as a heal skill. And then with the AoE here, it has a 3-turn cooldown that attacks 3 blocks wide and 5 blocks long. It dispels 1 debuff that heals allies within range of it. That also dispels 1 debuff from them. So everyone else on the team should have a debuff on them. So by using this, with this skill, I feel like you're going to be using it more as a support than anything else. You're not going to be doing a ton of damage with it in the first place. Sherry did get 2 debuffs removed. It would have dispelled 1 of them, but my Nymph has the Night Bloom, so it dispelled an extra one. But Angelina did have exactly 2 debuffs, and all of them are gone. So yeah, like I said, I feel like you're going to be using it more as a way to just use it on your team, more than doing like any kind of real damage. And with their other skills, we're actually going to be testing it somewhere else, because I feel like it's going to be more effective over there. So we're going to take things into Aniki right here. So to show off the rest of her kit, her single target skill, it gives +3 range in total, and so after battle, the enemy will get a debuff where they move as in water for 2 turns, and another one where they do take fixed damage and to other allies within 1 block of them. That cannot be dispelled and lasts for 2 turns. So if we go ahead and target Aniki right here. So there we go with some debuffs. So the mage did move right next to him, but didn't take fixed damage, but it's only when the enemy who has the debuff, whenever they do something, that's when the fixed damage takes place. So yeah, as long as the opponent isn't immune to all kinds of debuffs, that fixed damage can be pretty annoying to deal with if they like to group up next to each other. So about her 3C, I'm actually really excited to show you guys because it does something really cool. But first, let's go into the details. It has a 5-turn cooldown When used, it grants 1 additional talent stack that restores HP around her and gives a 15% damage dealt increase for 2 turns. After doing so, she gives herself a buff that heals allies within 2 blocks after taking action for 2 turns and also gets Serenade. Whereas, after enemies take action, they have a chance to be inflicted with Dormant, where they cannot take action on the next turn. That is removed after taking damage that lasts for 2 turns. Serenade cannot be dispelled that can trigger up to 4 times throughout its entire duration. The closer the enemy is to Nymph, the enemies will have a higher chance of being afflicted with Dormant, up to a max of 100%, and if the enemy already has Dormant, then they cannot be afflicted with it. Really cool. That Serenade buff is gonna be so good against like any opponents with an Act Again skill, because that's the entire point of having it, so that they have an easier time approaching. All the more while, it can be pretty nice against a group of enemies. So upon activating this, oh my god, I can't wait to show you guys. Here we go. So yeah, as long as the 3C is activated, you get this really cool effect that happens during the match or battle. And mind you, that it affects throughout the entire map for the enemy to be inflicted with Dormant. But that depends on the distance from where she's at compared to the enemy. So yeah, there is going to be some RNG factor towards it. So if we take a look at her buffs, she gets 2 stack. Before she activated her 3C, she had no talent stack, but when activated, she gets an additional one. So there's a damage boost, Serenade, and also heals nearby allies. And that is not all. I'm going to show you guys a really neat detail when she does her 3C. If I go into the settings right here and turn on the music volume to like quite a bit, just listen. How cool is that? That is honestly amazing, because long games are really stepping up their game when it comes to details right now. First, we have the Shiny Force, where they play like their little nice sound effect when they do their like skills, like certain skills. The song does like repeat itself, like you can really hear it. You guys can really hear it loop. But I think that's really amazing that they did that. Dormant pretty much just puts them to sleep. So when it activates, you guys will be able to see it when it does like a pop-up message. It does only last for, well, it's supposed to last for 2 turns, but it gets activated before the turn ends. So in reality, it lasts for 1 turn. So you guys know how Dormant can only be activated 4 times, right? You guys might be wondering, oh, what happens when that time is up? So I'm gonna have the background music play right now. So once Dormant is activated 4 times, all that happens is that she loses Serenade. So by checking Nymph's buff, because Dormant got activated 4 times, she loses it, and the background effect is just gone. Even the music as well. So, how do I really feel about Nymph? She kinda wants to be the smaller AoE sort of version of Miriendo. She isn't competent enough to work as an offensive healer. Her healing can be like really weak, and she really wants to spam her skills, but will have a hard time kinda doing it. Like, you can spam her 1C just fine, but everything else, she has a harder time getting those back. Which really sucks because she offers some really good effects, but has a hard time just keeping up. Even in regular content, you'll have this problem, but it won't be as bad compared in PvP. She wants to spam her 1C all the time so that she's always in water for the defense bonus. And you kinda really want that because of assassins. Her potential to be an offensive healer is honestly just way too weak. Like I mentioned, she has some really good effects that I like a lot, like creating her bubble to reduce AoE damage, and the 3C is a strong defensive tool to slow down anyone rushing in, especially those at the Gen characters. The only issue is that it doesn't really last that long, which is fine or good depending on how you look at it, and its cooldown is horrendous. In regular content, it can be quite useful if you needed to slow down a few enemies, if your tank can't take a lot of hits. So her over there isn't too bad, but I wouldn't really count on her all that much. I would really recommend another healer on your team, because Nymph is just not enough. Same thing in PvP, but more difficult. She's usable, yeah, but she is very slow at what she does, while also not being able to give out much at what she's supposed to do. It really is a shame because I like those things that she's able to do, but everything else that she offers, in which what she can do, is just way too weak. Like, it's so sad that she's like that. So, there you guys have it. That was Nymph's showcase. Quite an underwhelming character that I wouldn't really bother going for unless you need her for Tatalia's bond or if you just like the character herself. I'm kinda disappointed because she's like really unique. Her class type being aquatic, so she'll survive well against assassins, and then just in general, in PvP, there's quite a lot of physical attackers to deal with, while also being able to use some of the best equips to survive stuff, unlike any other healers that they can use. She can use stuff like the Last Rites, the Snow Helmet, which are a big deal. She has a few things that are really good about her, like her bubble for example, and even her 3C. If only she just didn't underperform in everything else that she can do. That's the main big problem about her. So it's gonna be really hard to use her well. But that's all I really got for you guys. If you guys did enjoy the video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more, and feel free to let me know down in the comments what you guys think about Nymph, and if there's any more that I missed. And yeah, thanks for watching. Your fellow Z.